Good morning. It's time to get in touch. In Touch is a public affairs show dedicated to improving the lives of Susquehanna Valley residents. I'm Freddi Hammer, news director at Backyard Broadcasting. In the first few days after the attacks occurred in New York City, the World Trade Center was hit, Flight 93 went down, and the attack at the Pentagon occurred. The people who would become the foundation of the 9/11 Memorial Coalition rode their motorcycles to show solidarity for the first responders, but their efforts would grow into a statement for all who support the group on their annual message that we will never forget. And this year, the theme is Let Freedom Roar for the miles that the ride that's coming up next Sunday for the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And we want to welcome Tank Baird into the studio this morning, as well as Chief Winder, Todd Winder with us, and Gary Smith. Hello to you guys. It's like an old home reunion.
Old home reunion, yeah. Being the 21st anniversary.
That's really quite amazing. Tell us a little bit about those first few days, like we described, the first few moments of the outrage that you felt over the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah, it was outrage. It was a terrible situation. It shocked everybody. And a gentleman, Don Miller, and I, we were in the same motorcycle club together. Got together in the country at his place, gathered all our guns together and went out there, and that's where we start talking.
Yeah.
And, you can only watch the planes hit the tower so much. And that was constant. And it just angered us every time that happened. Bikers ride. And we threw it out there. It was probably 24 hours. And we told everybody to meet down at the parking lot across from the federal building. And they did. Father Manno was there. I didn't know Father. I had met Father Manno, but he had the pulse of the biker community, and he'd heard about it. This all just word of mouth, no advertising, no nothing. And we had 85 riders, and we rode. There was no big plan either. We wanted a police escort, and actually they gave that to us, which was helpful. But we took off riding, and it was a protest ride. It was fists in the air and yelling, and but there was one glaring thing that I forgot, and that's traffic control.
Oh, yes.
I thought we were going to stop for red lights and stop signs, and the police went right through them. So I'm looking behind me, and the state police went like a bat down the Golden Strip.
Right.
So we're trying to stay right on their bumper. I look behind in the rearview mirror and see all the guys were just going right through the intersections and stuff. And I said to myself right there, if we do this again, it's going to have a little more organization.
Let me ask Chief Todd Winder from Clinton Township, what was your thought when you got together with Tank talking about traffic control?
They had moved from the Schneebly building to Bowman Field, I guess, at the parking lot. And Tank would always start calling me about April to ask if we would, if my fire department would cover the intersection at 15 and 54 when they come through. So our department and neighboring departments, we'd put up a flag arch in front of our building and watch all the motorcycles go by. And one year, him and Gary showed up, I think it was April, and I just happened to be walking out of the fire station. I said to him, for crying out loud, if I tell you we're going to cover the intersection, we're going to cover the intersection. I said, it's April or May. It was really early, and we got to talking, and they said, well, they were afraid that it was an anniversary year. It always got more motorcycles and that they were going to outgrow the venue where they were starting, and then they had to clean up and move to where they ended. And I said, well, you could start here, but it'd be a short trip to the Du Bois Town VFW. And then said, one of the three of us mentioned about going backwards. And I said, well, I ride a motorcycle, and I don't want to make left turns in any type of column with traffic and stuff. And then me and my big mouth said, well, why don't you just start and stop here? Then you don't got to move tables and all that stuff. And they were like, where would you park the bikes? And I said, well, parking lot, we'll shut down the road. And they were like, you can't shut down the road. I said, don't tell me I can't do something. We'll figure it out.
You will figure it out.
It is morphed from there. I mean, every business in the area, Bill Schneck and Hallsizers, we basically take over their parking lot the day of it, and he's been super, super supportive of us. And, we have thousands and thousands of people in that 1,500-foot stretch of Route 54 and around the fire station there during that day. But we got involved kind of later and joined the coalition, but that's how the fire company became involved. And then I went back to the members of the company and said, what do you guys think? And they thought, well, yeah, we want to be part of this.
Absolutely. You want to support them.
And it's a lot of work for our members at the fire station, but I think everybody looks forward to it every year. They're really proud to be part of it. I know I am, and I'm proud my folks are taking part in it.
Well, it's wonderful publicity. We hear about it every year, and we're so glad to be a part of it here at Backyard Broadcasting to be able to promote what you're doing. Yes. And I wanted to ask Gary Smith about your perceptions of those first few years, of how it grew a little bit. And
I had heard about the ride, and I was there on the second one, and I've known Tank since he was a little bitty boy. Yeah, A lot of years. Yeah. So after that ride, he and I were talking, and I said, Tank, what are we going to do with this thing? What's your plan? And that's what started the formulation of the coalition as a nonprofit, that we could help other groups and give monies back into the community and do things to show our appreciation, especially for all first responders, whether it's police, fire, EMT, whatever. And my sort of job at this point in time is taking over for Father Manno, that he and I were sort of the spiritual leaders. We had a pact every year. We had to get together and pray for the weather. That was sort of falling on my shoulders, and I've done pretty good so far. We had like 2 or 3 years out of the 20-some that we've gotten some pretty bad storms. But Father John's passing of that now. I'm carrying a lot of it. We brought Bill Stankiewicz on board as spiritual liaison as well to a lot of the motorcycle clubs, etc. So we are very thankful for what God has done. The people that are involved in this, it's a heartfelt response to our community. And like the chief said, that we couldn't do it without the fire station, the men there and women that give of their time, that on days off and that they're there early in the morning until we close up at night, making sure everything runs safely. So it's a wonderful opportunity for those to participate. And I want to take a moment to shout out to Representative Joe Ham, that has been instrumental in making our lives much easier. That we had a lot of issues over the years with permitting, because going through all these different municipalities, we have to make sure everything is done by the book. And he has enacted legislation and contacted people and sent out letters. So personally, we want to thank him and his office for a tremendous job he's done for us.
So COVID happened. How did you handle that year, and are we back to normal now?
But what we did, that we didn't want to say we're going to ride anyway, because it would cause a lot of issues.
Right.
But every member of the coalition on our own from morning until that evening rode the route and to honor those that are fallen. It's not about the ride. The ride is just the icing on the cake. It's there to remember, memorialize those that gave their all. So each one of us on our own have ridden the ride, even in the pandemic. No mask, but we did okay.
Out in the world.
Last year on the 20th anniversary, we had probably one of our best years in terms of numbers, turnout, and it was a freaking triumph, being that we started the year not even knowing that we could run the ride. Permit PennDOT, they did some maneuvering that made it virtually impossible to get a permit. And honestly, there was times when I thought this is all over.
Right.
Because, there's things I won't run without, and that's the permitting and insurance.
Yeah, you got to be legal here.
Yeah. But Joe Hams saved it. He got a unanimous decision in the House of Representatives to amend that thing that PennDOT put in the way. Both sides of the aisle thought that was amazing. And when I heard about it, my first reaction was, good luck. Good luck. We're just on the fringe of a pandemic. He got the job done. So he's got a permanent place in this ride.
We've always taken a stand of being apolitical. We do not support any party or whatever. But we support Joe. He went so far out of his way, above and beyond the call of what he's supposed to do as a representative. And his office, Eric, and the other members of his office. So they're held in very high esteem.
To get a unanimous vote in the House and the Senate on any piece of legislation, they can't even get a unanimous to name a bridge after somebody.
Right.
For that to happen was, Father Manno had to have his hands all over that. The reason for this is to make sure that people, don't forget what happened. My kids were in elementary school. I was at the fire station when I watched the first plane when it was on the Today Show, took my kids to school, and in that 20-minute time frame got to the fire station. There was a guy working on our breathing air compressor there, and he belongs to another fire department. I said, hey, did you hear what happened? No, what? I said, come in here to the TV room. I said, some nitwit, blue skies hit the World Trade Center with an airline. No clue. I had no clue. We sat there leaning against the pool table watching, saw the second plane come in and hit, and we both just looked at each other. And, I was like, what's going on?
Right.
Still too stupid to figure it out. And he looks at me and says, we're under attack, and points to the chyron on the bottom where it says, the Pentagon, there's an explosion. He said, this is war. This is an attack. There were people ready to mobilize and send stuff to New York City. Yeah. So there was actually people saying, listen, guys, calm down. don't go racing in New York City. We don't know what's going on, if this is over yet. So, when this ride comes around every year, it brings back all those memories and stuff. And there's people now that are graduated from high school that weren't alive when this happened. The coalition, it's their way of just making sure that, at least in this area, we honor those people that gave their life that day. We always hold the ride on September 11th.
Let's talk about the day that we are going to remember them at the Clinton Township Volunteer Fire Department area, and tell us about what's going to be happening that day and how the ride is going to be started. How can people get involved?
Well, they can show up. It's at Clinton Township Fire Hall, right outside of Montgomery, and the gates open at 10. Service, the memorial service, and a lot of people they just see the motorcycles.
Everybody's roaring through,
but they don't see the memorial service, and that's always been the heart and soul of this thing. We'll have the memorial service, and then at 3 o'clock we ride.
All right. Well, tell me about the 42 miles of the 9/11 ride. What features do you love the most about it?
It's a symbiotic relationship. I think that the motorcyclists like to see the people, and the people like to see the motorcyclists. You get a mix of 9/11 truthers, honor guards, bands. It is a remarkable turnout. Lycoming County is just the best for this.
The riders, we try to keep the thing moving. PennDOT wants us to engineer brakes and have divisions and all this stuff, and it's like it loses its effect because the people start to leave if they see a big gap. What people don't realize, I think, is that this memorial service beforehand, as I said, before we got involved, they just rode past us, and then we went inside and did a little thing on our own with the public. And when the first year it came to our place and there was a memorial service and the singers, the national anthem and Amazing Grace and the blessings and the Korean war vets, is just like, they're all going to hate me when they show up at the station this year, but a privilege and an honor I make sure I go meet them when we get them off the bus and bring them inside and sit them down. And some of them guys, it just seems like it's all they can do to walk. But when Howdy brings them to attention and they give that 21 gun salute, it's like they're 18-year-old privates again. It
fires them.
If you're not there to see, it's just amazing. But a lot of people think, it's just a bunch of guys riding around on motorcycles. The ceremony that takes place, the reverence, the remembrance of it, that it's to honor these people so that we don't forget.
We just want to have that spirit of the ride.
Yeah, and we'd like to, make sure that everyone is invited to the memorial service, whether you're a motorcyclist or not, to come out for the service, because you cannot go through this without a tear in your eye. And over the years, I've said, I've seen some really burly-looking guys get off their Harleys, and they're wiping their eyes, saying, "Boy, that dust out there is really something." And I'm going, "Yeah, it's really something." Yeah, because it is emotional, and for people that have had the opportunity to do the ride, year after year, always the same thing. I had no idea. But people come from miles around, families get together and tailgate along the route.
Okay.
That you'll see thousands of individuals through all of these municipalities with big signs, we'll never forget, and the American flags, and people out there in lawn chairs. From people from our generation, as the chief said, we have a frame of reference. We saw it actually happen.
Right.
But these young people, my grandson just graduated, and he has no memory of the initial seeing this. So it is our job, and that's why our motto is, we will never forget. For anyone that can come out, please come out. We'll find you parking spaces above in the school, etc. There are areas to park your vehicle. If you can't get down to the area, we'll try and get you down through a vehicle of some kind. But to take part in that service, to honor those that gave their all.
One thing about it being a Sunday, there's no event out at the football field. I know there's a lot of people out at the MAC on Old Road. When we go by, they come in and park there if they're not on the route to see the motorcycles. But the day of it, we get thousands of people on motorcycles waiting for 3 o'clock. So we have vendors there. They can get a bite to eat. There's some motorcycle vendors there at the fire station. When it's over, they can stay, because a lot of people are talking about what they saw and what happened on the ride. And the Pepper Street Band plays afterwards, because the ceremony's over, the remembrance, I hate to say, is over, but then it becomes fellowship. And a lot of people say about this ride, what do we do with all the money we raise? Well, you'd be surprised how little money we raise because this ride has been free for any rider. The response is like, are you serious? No ride is free. It costs you nothing but your motorcycle license,
Right.
And the cost of your gas. So
donations appreciated,
right?
But
We
not
accept
necessary.
donations because it costs us a lot of money for the insurance and permitting fees and all this stuff that we have to do. And then money that we have left over, the coalition has tried to give that back to police, fire, and EMS in Lycoming County. We've sponsored people to take an EMT course at Penn College, which costs about $1,000. So we try to sponsor at least one or two of those a year. We've given money to the Sheriff's Department for equipment. We've given money to Williamsport Police Department. We've donated money to some firemen that have lost their homes in fires or have been injured in the line of duty here in Lycoming County. You hear Tank, Gary, and Todd all the time on the radio, and I'm not sure how I got so important. I don't think I am, but there's like 12 or 13 on the coalition right now, and everybody on that coalition has a job. Every one of them does a certain thing to put this thing on every year, and it's a good group that keeps this thing going. We have 9 states represented. We have people from Missouri. We had a fire chief rode across the country on his motorcycle from Washington State on the 15th anniversary, and people from Canada every year come down.
But I also want to give a shout-out to Sheriff Lusk, who coordinates all of the law enforcement around and leads the ride. He has his deputies go out prior to the ride to make sure the route is clear, there's no safety issues, whatever. And then he personally is in the lead vehicle on the ride and constant communication with the chief and county control. So we do it safely and expeditiously as possible. So.
Well, I'm so glad that you have all that support. And the website is wonderful, and you can get a lot of information there. You can go to 9/11memorialcoalition.org. And there's videos and things if anybody needs to show their children. But it's 21st anniversary motorcycle ride to remember the victims of 9/11.
We'll actually have waivers there.
Yes. Okay.
And the insurance company, we had to get special insurance the last couple of years.
Okay.
So they have a waiver that has to be signed by the rider and passenger to indemnify them, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, so there'll be a group set up. There's tables set up. So you just show up there, and we'll walk you through everything.
So gates open at 10, 2 o'clock for the memorial service, then waiting to ride kickstands up at 3.
This is a rain or shine event.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we ride in the rain. So if you are not comfortable riding in the rain, stay at the fire station.
If you are not comfortable in a group,
Right.
one long column, moving at a slower speed, continuously without stopping. That's the safest way to run this ride.
Right.
Okay.
And that's what we strive for. And, all the intersections are blocked. I know the bikers love that.
If it wasn't for the people along the streets, I don't know that this ride would be as popular because you can just get on your motorcycle and ride and think for yourself, about that day and remember it. But it's seeing, there was a gentleman for years out towards Pennsdale on 220 that was a retired Navy. I think he was a captain. I never could see his insignia, but he was always being his dress whites, and as you would crest this hill, he would snap to perfect attention when the sheriff's vehicle would go by and hold a salute till the last vehicle went by.
Yeah. That's wild.
And that was the talk. I mean, we stretch typically the last 4 or 5 years 22 miles long, but that guy stands there and watches 22 miles of bikes go by and doesn't flinch. Because for years people would argue at the fire station, that's a mannequin. No, that's a guy.
Because the first time I saw him was in a thunderstorm, pouring rain in a thunderstorm. We thought it was a statue until I saw his hand move.
Yep.
I was shocked.
That's amazing.
Sadly, he's captured in the video that Olivia did in
Okay.
our documentary, Remember, Honor, Ride. We think he either passed or he moved away because the paint on the house is different. Just that area is a little bit different. But, I mean, a lot of the first year he wasn't there, that was the talk.
Oh, where was
that guy? And there's people like that. There's a couple places that are like that people do that, but he stood out the way the sun hit him on that hill.
That type of appreciation, you can't buy that.
Well, you've built it with the spirit of Father Manno. I think a lot of people's love for him, and that has a lot of power.
Father Manno is not, he might be gone here physically, but Fred, his motorcycle is on permanent display. We'll be there with, so if you want to come see Father Manno.
On display at the ride, at the fire station.
They-
There's a Father Manno bus with him on Fred on the back. It's a 911
Oh,
bus.
that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Come on out.
Well, we look forward to seeing you guys and hearing you on our Backyard Broadcasting stations coming up this week.
Yes.
And we have a week to go until you can let freedom roar. 911memorialcoalition.org, where you can get all the information, plus history of the ride and how to get in touch with you guys.
We'll have our biggest fundraiser is a sale of T-shirts, and we have a T-shirt with this Let Freedom Roar emblem on.
Excellent.
And if you want to know what it looks like, go to the fire station and look at the big billboard. It's there.
Yeah.
You can also buy the swag at 911memorialcoalition.org. Well, thank you, Tank Baird,
Yes.
President and Coordinator of the 9/11 Coalition, as well as Chief Todd Winder from the Clinton Township Volunteer Fire Department, and Gary Smith, Vice President and Chaplain of the 9/11 Coalition. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in and talking to us about the 9/11 ride. In Touch is locally produced in our studios at 1685 4 Mile Drive in Williamsport. To get in touch with us regarding questions, comments, or topic ideas, call weekdays between 8 and 5, 570-323-8200. You can also write to us at 1685 4 Mile Drive, Williamsport, PA 17701, attention Freddi Hammer, or email me at fhammer@backyardbroadcasting.com. For archive programs of our In Touch series, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Backyard Broadcasting. Each current weekly program is featured on the Backyard Broadcasting websites. Individual opinions expressed here don't necessarily reflect the opinions of the management or staff. Thanks for listening to In Touch, a production of Backyard Broadcasting.